Welcome to another episode of Community Chat. My name is Kevin Tocci, and I will serve as this program's host for today's conversation. What is it that we do here on Community Chat? Well, it's kind of a turnkey show to be able to discuss some of the things that are going on, meet people, talk about events. If anything, it's a way to deliver information to the residents that we proudly serve in Abington. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the organization called Abington COPES. As you know, while we're dealing with COVID and we have since moved out of dealing with COVID, there still is a dependency issue. There is still an issue when it comes to folks using substances, addiction, and yes, even losing those who are addicted and overdose. Joining us today, they have been here before. To chat with us, we have Melissa Cook. She is the president of Abington COPES, and joining her, he is the community outreach coordinator for Abington COPES. We have Jeff Chasen. Welcome to the show, guys. Welcome back.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Last time you were here, we were talking, we were promoting, we were telling people what Abington COPES was, the purpose of the organization. And we were even promoting your very first event, road race, which was one that used to be done by another organization that said, here, if you want to start using this, they had the 20-year run, and they're like, if you want to use this as a way to generate revenue, and then that happened. That was the Coombs family road race. How did that event go?
That went very well. That was very exciting for Jeff. It went very well. I was very happy with the turnout the day itself. The weather was perfect, so it was great. It was a little warm. We had food trucks. We had a bunch of kids. We had bouncy houses. We had almost 300 people register, which for the first year I consider that very successful.
Great local DJ Scully.
Yep. Everything. I didn't really get any complaints. Everyone that reached out to me after said, they enjoyed the day. It went well. So I was very happy with it. Yeah.
So has that led you to decide, hey, we can do much more with this community and help with folks understanding what exactly it is that Abington COPES does? It's kind of a hand-in-hand type of a thing. This is where you're doing a community event, but then they're getting to know a little bit about what it is that your committee does and what you do.
Well, it really gives an opportunity for a conversation to happen. If you look back over the last decade where reported substance use, deaths and overdose deaths have seemingly done nothing but increase. And you have more services becoming available. Stigma is, becoming, we're making progress there. It's becoming less and less, but the problem is still getting worse as a whole. Having these events, the road race being successful, I can think personally of 5 moving conversations I had that day with attendees, and I can only imagine about some of the other conversations that were had. And had that event not happened, none of those conversations would have happened that day, and that's how people find out, that there is life-saving, therapy available or options or, whatever that person needs, that they're not going to know it exists unless they have that conversation first.
I somewhat feel as though that culturally, that folks don't realize that it's not just one drug and that one drug isn't dominant per se, but we're seeing stronger drugs. Heroin is no longer the dominant drug of choice. You're talking about fentanyl. You're talking about rainbow fentanyl, something that would, catch a kid off guard, think that it's something that they can use and they can touch, they can eat, and then before you know it, someone loses their life.
being in recovery, thinking back to, my rebellious teenage years, I'd be at parties, I'd be at people's houses, they'd break out stuff, I'd have no idea what it was, but I'd say, give me 3 of those, and God, if that was in today's day and age, I'd be dead already.
Yeah, like these kids can't do drugs, like they'll die. That's
because
serious.
of the strength of them.
Well, fentanyl is in everything.
Right.
In the last August, I went down to Washington, D.C. for a rally, and I met a few families who had lost their teenagers to a fake pill. And I just started crying, and I thought about my kids, my town, and was like, we have to do something because not enough people know about this. So
there's been a spike in hospitalizations and overdose deaths around people purchasing fake pressed Adderall or ADHD medication because there's a nationwide shortage on it and people can't get it, so it's an opportunity for scumbags like I used to be to capitalize on that and make fake pills and sell them. It's disgusting, sad.
Has there ever been an open discussion as to why the euphoria with being in an altered state? Why is it that, and not just drugs alone? Alcohol is another vehicle for folks to, not necessarily be normal, but to get a certain feeling. Why is it that society has a need for substances to be, and I'm not looking for a real answer, it's kind of a rhetorical question, but as we sit here and we talk and discuss this, I'd like to hear your thoughts on what is it?
Yeah, so in my career, I work in the treatment field, and it's provided me with an opportunity to meet a lot of people that have spent decades of their lives academically, studying and searching for answers to that question. There's a great, theory called the dislocation theory that is talked about pretty widely locally. It ties into how, we were once a great industrial nation, communities, towns, cities, families had purpose. People went to work, they worked hard, they brought dinner home for their families and went to church on Sundays and had block parties as a neighborhood, and because they all worked together, they were all friends. And then the factories all closed down and jobs went overseas, and a lot of those once great industrial cities like Brockton, Lawrence, Lynn, Fall River, New Bedford are some of the hardest hit communities from the opioid epidemic. And in this dislocation theory, I hope I'm doing it justice, presents it's because communities were dislocated from their purpose, from community, from connection, and driven, generationally into poverty, struggle, just getting by, and that's, ripe ground for addiction, and euphoria can get created pretty easily from that state.
Melissa?
I think Jeff
Tough act to follow.
It is, yeah.
I mean, he really encapsulated what it is, and it's, to me, if I was just to put it briefly, identity crisis. Identity crisis that our communities are suffering from, an identity crisis and trying to find themselves, and that this is just a way to do so.
Yeah, I see that totally.
Melissa?
Yes.
Just again, your thoughts on, have you ever pondered as to what it is about using a substance, liquid substance, powder, smoke?
Just escaping, do you mean?
Yeah.
Just like wanting to escape for a few minutes? Is that kind of?
Yeah, well, what is it with our society? Society feels a need to,
Well,
and not even have any kind of way to stop it. It seems I see people who, I'm just having a couple of this or a couple of that, and that it instead of it being, I'll just have one and be done, it's I'm gonna have a couple,
more.
more.
Yep.
Yeah, I think largely as a society we're addicted to comfort, right? And people that tend to have substance use issues tend to be genetically
Positioned?
Predisposed. No, I can't say it. No.
I think
no.
I'm trying to make up a word that doesn't exist, so
No.
let's abandon that.
Yep.
They tend to have, a higher rate of anxiety disorders, depressive disorders, and I'm going to speak from my own experience. I wasn't right as a kid. There was something off about me. Raising a child now and getting to kind of address some of the issues that he's run into, I can look back and see, I was struggling with ADHD, and the negative attention that created caused me to develop poor self-esteem and feel bad about myself. And then, come later on, naturally, when it was time for me to experiment and dabble, or maybe fall under some good old-fashioned peer pressure, when I took that first sip of beer and swallowed it down and took a few more and it started to work itself into my system, I felt relief that I don't think I had ever felt at a level before in my life. And I wasn't cognizant of that. I didn't know I was feeling relief. But I knew that I felt amazing, and I knew that I needed to experience this as often as possible. So, that's me at least. I don't know if that applies to
No, it's a good
couple billion people. Yeah.
No, but I think everybody has their own story. They have their own way to kind of see it, justify it. Maybe they've had a chance to speak with a professional to kind of help deconstruct themselves.
Or 20 in my case.
Sure, deconstruct themselves and get a really good glimpse as to why did I do this? And if there's a way that I can be a mentor to somebody else saying, hey, this was what my vice is, and this is the path that I was led down, I'm telling you that what's best for you is not to avoid that path at all costs.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the meetings. How have the Abington COPES meetings been embraced, Melissa? Do you feel as though you're having the turnout that you'd like to see, or do you feel as though that it's some meetings are good, some meetings you hope that there'd be more bodies in the chairs?
So we do meet the second Wednesday of every month at 6 o'clock at the Abington Police Station in the community room. So I just wanted to put that out there. The meetings, we always have a healthy discussion. No matter how many people are there, we get what we want done. We like to just have kind of like an open discussion. I have a friend that comes every month, and I've asked a couple people to come. So I feel like people are still trying to learn about who we are before they want to,
Be full-fledged members.
Yeah, and it's no commitment. Come whenever you can, you know what I mean? Or just follow us on social media. But we want to hear from more people from the community. And one aspect in particular is prevention, so Abington COPES community outreach, prevention, education, and support. I work hard on the prevention piece with getting programs into the kids. But because I have a 6th, 5th, and 3rd grader, but I am only one parent in the school system. So to really get things done here, different, talk over different ideas, we need more parents. So.
Now, before the cameras were rolling, we were talking a little bit about what you've, at least in the near future.
Yep.
You have multiple things that have been planned.
Yep.
That are going to be taking place. Do you each want to take turns, kind of sharing some of the events that are going to be taking place? We got one here March 8th.
Yep.
No first time. Is that supposed to be a visitor to your meeting?
No first time. They are, yes, they are an organization. They lost their son to an overdose, and they work with a state trooper, a former drug recognition expert. So they do a parents' education piece, and they also come in with someone from long-term recovery. So they really just have a good story, and it's kind of eye-opening to hear, to pass on, like, this is what we saw, to keep your eyes open and everything. So they are coming March 8th to our monthly meeting. At 6 o'clock, we're going to have food as well, because I know weeknights are tough, trying to, with the kids, get the homework, the activities, and so like tweens welcome too, because I think it's a great message for them to hear as well. And it's actually, that'll be our first meeting kicked off last March, so it'll be like our 1-year anniversary, so we're gonna have some cake from Montilio's, so yeah. I'm hoping to get some parents out for that.
Yeah, on that note, this is something that we really want to strongly encourage any parents of, children entering into middle school, soon or currently are in middle school, or heck, maybe you're late to the party and they're in high school and you want to come get educated. I promise you, this is a topic you've never studied before. I promise you, these are concepts and things that no matter how much you love your child, there's just blind spots that exist that they're going to pick up on and hide in. And coming to events like these will empower you with the tools to identify red flags that might be right there in front of your face and you don't even know it. It could be life-saving.
And knowledge is power.
Yep.
When we were each individually born, we weren't given this massive book with all that we would know or possibly encounter during our time on this planet.
Yeah.
We learn through, experiencing certain things, and hopefully after the first time something happens, good or bad, you have something to recall and to know how to handle the next time you endure that. In my notes here, you're also going to be very active during the St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Yes, it was our first event a year ago. Melissa touched on, we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary. My best friend, Nick Tantillo, came with me and joined me and my son on the float, waving, and
we're on a tow truck, Mac towing.
Yep. And we had a blast that day, and sadly, Christmas Eve, Nick picked up and passed away due to an accidental overdose. So it'll be a somber day. It'll obviously be a fun day, but I'll be thinking of him all day because he was right next to me last year.
Does that give you strength? Will that give you strength knowing that?
Yeah, a lot of my story too of how I ended up kind of choosing a career path, working with people like me, was centered around losing a roommate of mine in sober living. Me and this kid were inseparable. Couldn't be any more polar opposites, personality, style, age. He was like 24, I was 34, and but we worked together, we went to meetings together, we recovered together, we got better together. And then just, through a freak kind of series of events, he found himself, living back at home and thinking he could drink alcohol. And, next thing you know, his poor mom found him dead in his bed. And, I was at work wondering where's Steve? And, got the call, found out. So no one's coming to save society, and I'm not going to save society, but if one more person decides to stand with us, that's one more person fighting with us, against this thing.
And I think folks who aren't in the know, who haven't had a family member in crisis or a friend in crisis, realize that it could be the simplest thing that triggers a relapse, and it's not. We're human. These are things that happen to us, and sometimes you give in to the temptation. Hopefully, it's something that if someone loses their fight to temptation, that those who are closest to them, it makes them stronger and want to carry on and not necessarily be a trigger for them because of losing somebody so close and somebody that you love that much.
What I told my buddy Nick's mom, she's got to try and find a way to turn this darkness into a light and shine it on other people, because her story could save 10,000 people's lives potentially. You know.
When we lost my sister, that's like, you know, that pain that you first, when it first happens, that like guttural pain. But then at the same in the same breath, I knew that good was going to come out of this. That people were going to be helped because of her. So.
And do you feel that people are being helped?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's part of my healing as well, and my family's, because now my niece is involved. Kelsey is our secretary. So, and my mom, you know, does things for us too. Sometimes if I can't get to the store to pick something up, so it's really just. And my sister found a lot of recovery, like in Abington, because there's a lot of meetings in Abington. So, yeah, there's just been a lot of healing around my family in Abington COPES. So, I want that for other people too. Other family members.
So as we continue talking about things, events, the parade, there's also a plan to have a speaker come to the high school.
Yes.
In middle of March. Talk to me about that.
So Kathy Sullivan is her name. I've spoken with her a couple times. She is, the first time I spoke to her, you could just feel her light over the phone. She carries Sullivan's message. She lost her daughter when she was, I think, a junior in high school, to underage drinking. She went out after homecoming and they found her. 3 days later, she had drowned in 2 feet of water. So she talks to the teens about making healthy choices around substances, and she just connects with the kids. I work for Hingham Cares, and she spoke there as well, and she's coming back. And I know she's been to Whitman Hanson too. She's pretty, she's been around the circuit, so I am super excited to meet her and have her come in and talk to the kids.
Probably the last thing we can touch upon is a mock car crash.
Yes.
I feel that these are very effective. For the simple fact is that when they're done, I've seen them conducted. You have students who were willing to be involved. You have parents who are involved. You have town officials who are part of this process, seeing this unfold and actually hearing the shrieks and the screams and you know, the parent yelling, going, "What did you do?" Again, I've actually produced some of these, and they've been highly effective, not only in some of the kids afterwards, because you see the kids who they file out, they're actually around where there's a vehicle that has been crashed into, that is revealed, and the kids are the injured kids are in the car. You might even have one who has suffered a fatality.
Yep.
And at the end is usually a hearse that is taking that body away. And seeing the look on all the faces of the individuals who are there as the audience is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember seeing a real wreck, learning after that it was from a drunk driving, and prior to that, you know, my parents or people, you know, you could crash, no, it didn't really resonate in me, like what could happen, right? Until you see it.
It plays out. It's surreal.
Yeah.
It's very surreal. Anything else as we're coming to the end of our conversation here? This is your opportunity to use this show as a way to deliver a message to the folks, whether they attend the meeting, they get involved with some of the events that you do. What would you like to say to the audience?
Come to our meeting, our monthly meeting. So a once a month commitment. It's not a big commitment. We're not going to ask you if you're a drug addict or, you know, please tell us about your drug addict family member. Like we're not going to pry into your personal life.
We don't even ask you to talk or anything.
Yeah, you don't even have to speak.
Nope.
Just come and sit and spectate.
Yep.
And see what we're doing. And you know what we're really looking for is for anyone with the heart to help. you know, and that you may desire to because of a personal reason, or you just may not. You just might recognize that this is a really big problem in our society right now, and no one is coming to save us. This is not going to be solved with the passing of a bipartisan bill or something. Like, we need to pick each other up by the bootstraps, not to be cliche, and band together. And that might not even fix it, but we gotta keep trying different things until something catches some traction and these numbers start going down annually.
Melissa, you've mentioned that people have talked during these. Is it kind of an organic thing that happens when these individuals talk, that you don't know who they are, but by the end of the meeting or a couple of meetings later, you know who they are because they have questions and they want to engage in the subject matter?
Say that again? Sorry.
So you had mentioned earlier on
Yeah.
in our conversation that the people that you've had some good, healthy conversation,
Right.
that has been
Yeah.
that has been struck up. A lot of times are these people who maybe you've never met or maybe you have met, and what's some of the subject matter that you touch upon during this conversation?
Well, I think last meeting, we talk about doing some things we'd like to do with the kids, and I think people can get excited about that. And yeah, but there haven't been too many people come into the meetings that I didn't.
Yeah, if somebody
Complete strangers.
If you answer my call to action, we'll know who you are when you walk in, because you'll be the only person that hasn't been there every week with the rest of us.
If folks want to find out more about what it is that you do, any upcoming events, how can they do that? Are you guys mainly on social media?
Yep, Facebook and Instagram, and our website is to be updated like within the next week or two. That's abingtoncopes.org. And I just want to put it out there, registration for the 5K is open. So,
Ooh.
Yep.
So for the second annual 5K
The
in
second
September?
annual 5K, yep, September 17th. Yes.
Exciting.
Yep.
So that's breaking news right here on Community Chat. Breaking news. I want to thank you both for coming in. This is a tough topic to talk about. It's tough to discuss. And I appreciate you coming in. And we've had meetings and talked, and publicly I would say is that I'd like to have you in on a regular basis, coming in and talking about some of the events you get coming up in March and April. Let's have you back in May. Kind of, again, keep putting the information out there. Maybe you might have somebody who attends the meeting that you can use as a discussion point as to what people are learning and anything else that's important when it comes to recovery and helping folks who want to recover.
Awesome.
That's
Thank you
awesome,
so much
Kevin.
for having us.
Yeah,
We
you got it.
appreciate you.
We're honored. Thank you.
You got it. And I want to thank you for tuning into a program like Community Chat. Again, this is your program. The idea for this particular show is to talk about the things that are important to the community, sharing information, getting to know what's going on in real time. If you want to do that, if you have an idea for a topic, subject matter, info@abingtoncam.tv. Until our next conversation, have yourself a good day.